Are you trapped in the same old struggles and repeating patterns that weigh you down? Then Saturn may be your greatest teacher. In this video, we are going to understand how to use the position of Saturn to master life's lessons, break free from these cycles of pain and suffering, and transform your reality into your desired reality. Hi, welcome back to my channel where we discuss tarot, astrology, manifestation, and all the other amazing tools to transform your reality into your desired reality. Today's video, we are going to understand and dive deep into the role that Saturn plays in our life so that we can finally start understanding the lessons that the Lord of Karma is trying to teach us. So today's video, we're going to cover three main things. First, we are going to cover understanding Saturn and its nature. Second, we are going to cover major Saturn transits like Saturn Return, Sati period. Why are they so important? Things that we need to be careful of in these periods. Then thirdly, we are going to discuss the Saturn through the different houses so that you can click on your particular placement and then check for your house significance. Okay, because wherever Saturn is placed in your chart, whichever house Saturn is placed, the theme of that house is going to be highlighted in this lifetime, and those themes are where Saturn is going to give you its lessons through. Okay, and so that's why it's very important to understand Saturn through the different houses. All right, so in order to dive deep into this video, you first need to understand the position of Saturn in your birth chart. If you don't know that position, then you can use any birth chart calculator that is available online. The things that you need for that is going to be your birth time, your name, your birthplace, okay, and make sure that the time is accurate because the ascendant changes approximately every 1 to 2 hours, and then if your birth time is not accurate, there is going to be a difference in the house system, so it's you'll not really be able to understand the Saturn through the houses. So once you have computed the birth chart and figured out the position of Saturn, then you can click on the timestamps that I have provided in the description box against the house that your particular placement is. Okay, and so in that chapter, we are going to discuss the significance of that house, what that house shows, the lessons that you need to master, and also the remedies that will help us understand those patterns and transform it, because the most important part of astrology is how we can use it to transform our life. We are not here just to scare people. We are here on how to understand it to transform our life, right? That is the most important part, a role of astrology in our life. So let's try to understand what is Saturn. Saturn is the lord of karma. Okay, Saturn is the main boundary between the perceived reality and the unseen reality. If you look in the night sky, Saturn is the farthest most planet that can be seen with our visible eye. And that's why astrologers have, for long associated Saturn as the boundary. And these boundaries, these restrictions, sometimes they are actually useful for us, but often they can feel very restrictive, and they can feel very painful when we have to experience them. Okay, and Saturn is also considered like the limit, the boundary of what we can perceive with our five senses, because as I said, that's the farthest most planet that we can see with our eyes, and eye is a sense, right? One of the five senses. Okay, and wherever Saturn is placed, that's where now we start to see restrictions, the theme of that house. Like for instance, if Saturn is placed say in your second house, you're going to see restrictions related to food, related to your money, related to resources, right? Because wherever Saturn is placed, the themes of that house start to see restrictions. But Saturn is not here to punish you. Unlike the common belief that we have around Saturn, actually, you should see Saturn as like a loving parent, who is trying to teach us things just to make us better, just to teach us that we are more than that boundary. We are totally capable of overcoming these restrictions and, transform ourselves into becoming better, you know. And I feel that is the most important thing with Saturn, transforming your own self. Instead of engaging in remedies outside of your body, the most important thing is going to be to transform your own self. Okay. So Saturn likes structure, Saturn likes discipline. Okay. It also signifies older people. See, because if you see, Saturn is the most slow moving planet, right? It takes 2.5 to 3 years to completely go through one zodiac sign, and that's the slowest moving pattern. So planet. So that's why Saturn is always connected to older things, things that age beautifully, like antiques, right? And Saturn also deals with conservation of energy. It deals with like you'll see people who are very Saturn oriented, who are governed by Saturn, or whose major planets are there in Saturn. You'll see they have a very austere outlook. They don't really like to mingle. They'll not be spending their energy in frivolous talks or gossips. And because it's so slow moving, it results also takes time to come, so that's why whenever Saturn is placed, you often feel as if you're putting a lot of effort, but you're not able to see any results for a long time. And that's why Saturn also represents delays, persistence, perseverance, right? And of course, right, if you keep on working on something, you keep on perfecting it, you keep on showing up for something, what happens? It becomes a really good product, and it actually helps you achieve a bigger result than what you were aiming for in the beginning. And so that's why, although Saturn delays, but if you are persistent and you maintain discipline, then the results that Saturn gives, those are also magnanimous. Okay. The wealth that Saturn can give, that is huge. Most of the people who are rich in the world, they actually have a major Saturn placement. And so that shows that they had to work hard. Things didn't come easy to them, but because of this hard work, because of going at it again and again, that's how they perfected their skill, and that's how they got so good at what they were doing. So another thing with Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra, and Saturn is considered debilitated in the sign of Aries, right? So exalted means that Saturn will be giving somewhat better results. There will always be restrictions. Wherever Saturn is placed, there will be restrictions, there will be delays. But if the planet is exalted there, you may have the wisdom to put in the effort. Okay, that and you are able to put in the effort, you're able to get up every day and work towards your goal. While Saturn is debilitated in Aries, and in these positions, you may feel it to be more tough to deal with the challenges that Saturn is placed. Okay, but the important thing is to understand your placement. Okay, understand no one is here to punish you. You just understand your own tendencies. When you understand your birth chart, you understand your own tendencies so that you can manage yourself better and get better results in life. Okay, so now let's discuss the major important transits of Saturn. The first one is the Saturn return. So Saturn return happens around the age of 28 to 30 of the native. What exactly is Saturn return? So basically, Saturn comes in the sign in which it was at the time of your birth. So Saturn takes 2.5 to 3 years to pass each sign, and then when it comes back to the sign where you were born, that's when it's called a Saturn return. So as you can see, Saturn has come back to the sign where it was at the time of your birth. So that means that the theme of that house and the role that Saturn wants to play in your life, the lesson that Saturn wants to teach you in this life, is going to be highlighted. Okay. And if you have not yet mastered, for instance, if you're getting betrayals in your life again and again, if you're getting a shortage of resources again and again, if you have not started to work on these themes, then now it's going to be completely highlighted. If you haven't worked, it can feel very tough, right? It can feel as if everything is falling apart, because Saturn is the lord of truth. Okay, Saturn breaks away any delusions that we have about anything, whether that's about your own thing, understanding your own situations, whether that's about someone else. That's why Saturn also shows betrayals, because the truth of the other person comes to life, right? So whatever is not in alignment with your truth, that is going to fall off, and then it can feel really strict for the person. It can feel really hard, but the idea is not to punish you. The idea is to make you let go of everything that actually does not serve you. The reason why we choose these situations, why we stay in these patterns, is not because they serve us. We know that this is painful. The reason we stay stuck is because we don't have the courage, or we lack the discipline that is needed in order to change, right? And that's exactly what Saturn is nudging us towards. The another important transit is called Sati. So Sati, as the name represents, it's a 7.5 year period where the Saturn transits over or around your moon. So basically, when the Saturn is transiting over the house in which your moon is placed, so those 2.5, 3 years, then it also includes the period in which the Saturn is transiting the house previous to this house, and then it also includes the period in which the Saturn transits the house that is after this house in which the moon is situated. So this 7.5 year period is considered to be quite emotionally distressful for the person, because what is moon? Moon is our mind, it's our emotional happiness, it's emotional fulfillment. You're right. And when Saturn transits from here, it is going to break away all the delusions. You might think everything is very happy, and these relationships are perfect. I like my job, and everything. All of these delusions are going to break away, and you'll have to face the reality, right? And I feel that. That is why Saturn is also very important, because if you look around in the manifestation field, in the spiritual field, I think this is really loosely used, where people believe that everyone is good, and life is amazing, and we have to stay high vibrational all the time. Let's see the good in people. But like, wake up and see around. People are capable of doing a lot of bad as well. And although at the core we are all love and light, but the way we show up in the world, it can actually be quite harmful. And that's the truth, right? And we have to accept it. And after accepting that truth, if you're still able to hold love and light in your heart, that I think is the beauty. And in order to do that, I feel as if a very important thing is also a role of spirituality and some wisdom. So I feel as if that's why Saturn is also connected to spirituality. Because how do you hold space and love and light for people even after seeing the truth? Right? Not in a delusional way, not thinking everyone is good and no one harms me. Not like that. After you see what they're capable of, and then also your whole love and like that requires some maturity. that requires some wisdom, that requires some spirituality. And that's why I think Saturn is connected a lot to wisdom and spirituality, meditation, spending some time alone. That's why you see whenever there is a major impact of Saturn in your life, you will also find as if your friends are moving away from you, or those situations are just taking away this emotional base that you had prepared for yourself. But that is just so that you can develop that emotional maturity in you, right? Okay, so the next transit that we're going to cover for Saturn is Saturn retrograde. So every year, around 4 to 5 months, Saturn goes retrograde, which means that Saturn is moving backwards now instead of moving forward in the sign. Okay, and this period is a period where, although externally you will feel that the progress is a little bit slower, but this is a time of introspection, and you'll see so many internal changes happening, which are actually important for us to be able to implement those external changes. And so we see that during this time period, we may feel as if things are a little stuck, but the important thing to realize during this time period is that maybe we need to redo our work, maybe we need to learn some lessons so that we can actually accomplish what it is that we're trying to accomplish, right? Like, as they say, obstacle is the way. If there are some challenges that are coming, that is actually imperative for you to be able to be on the path of you trying to achieve your desired goals. Okay, it can also happen that when you have a look at your birth chart, sometimes in the natal chart, Saturn is retrograde. Okay, now retrograde planets in the natal charts, they start to hold an important significance in our life. They start affecting our life more than the other planets, and that means that that lesson is somehow more important for us in this lifetime. So a retrograde planet in the natal chart is considered quite powerful. Okay, and so in that scenario, you need to pay double attention to this theme that we're going to discuss in the next section of this video, where we will discuss how Saturn impacts in each of the houses, right? So understanding that becomes even more important if you have Saturn retrograde in your birth chart. Okay, so if you're going through any of these Saturn transits, do comment below in the comment section and share your experience so all of us can learn from it. Okay, so now let's dive into the section 3 of this video, which is understanding Saturn through the houses. So Saturn in house number 1. So house first is the house of our body. It shows the house of our ego, how we show up in the world, how do we relate to ourselves, like what is our self-image. That is what is shown by first house. Now Saturn, as we have discussed, it's a planet of restriction, it's a planet of anxiety and delays. So, when we have Saturn in the first house of our birth chart, what we see that the natives is experience some sort of a delay in growth. Like generally, you'll say after the age of 30 to 35, such people are able to completely mature. Some people, like, they are able to develop fully later on in life. Initial years of of their life, they may feel very conscious of their body, or of they may feel conscious of their skills. They may not be very confident, and generally after 30 to 35 years, that is when the person starts to develop confidence in themselves and shine in their own strength. And so you will see that these people also have a tendency to be very critical. They can be really self-critical, where they are almost like a perfectionism sort of an approach they have, where they want to be perfect 100% at everything, and they may also not able to express fully their ideas, their opinions. They may be controlled by or how people want them to be, because first house is the house of our ego, right? What is your own thought process? And when Saturn is here, especially in the initial years of your age, you will not feel confident. You will always want to get more opinions. You will feel as if you cannot make the right decision, right? And so, as the age progresses, the lesson here, the remedy here, is for the person to start realizing their strength, start realizing that even if things are not perfect, like no one has to be perfect. Okay, so they start valuing their own ideas, their own value system over anything else, right? Another thing that becomes very important with this one is that there can be some ill effects on the body. So as the age progresses, the person becomes very disciplined in taking care of their own body, because Saturn is discipline, right? Hard work, where you show up every day in the world and do that thing, in a routine. Saturn loves routine. And so you will see that these people, they are generally very after a certain age, they start to take care of their health a lot, maybe because they have suffered some issue, or because they're not very confident in their body, and so now they have very rigorous routines when it comes to their fitness, and then that leads to them having a lot of confidence in their body. But that often occurs after a certain time period. Okay, and so the remedies here are this: first, be more confident. Second, take more care of your body. So the karma here is that maybe in your past life you have not really taken care of your body properly, and so take more care of your body, be confident in yourself, right? Start to trust your own decisions. Okay, and let go of this inner critique that you have. Okay, and generally, this inner critique is developed because of some criticism that we have faced either by parents or teachers or peers while growing up. Okay, and so that is something that people with this position can face in the initial part of their life. And but if we are not aware, then we will continue to be in these patterns. So important thing is to realize that okay, there is some karma here. I need to be more confident in myself. I need to seek validation only from myself, and if someone criticizes, okay, that is their point of view. So that is becomes very, very important when Saturn is placed in first house. So when Saturn is placed in the second house is the house of our money. It's the house of our financial resources, of food. It also shows eyes, face, speech. Okay, so when Saturn is placed here, often people with this placement, they have a shortage of resources when they're growing up. But that's the thing, that shortage of resources is what forces the person or prepares the person to put in effort towards their money, towards their finances every day. And then you'll see that the people with displacement eventually in life actually become one of the wealthiest. But the important thing here, see, Saturn is also the law of karma. So now, just because you're having some problems, the important thing to deal with your Saturn is to put in the hard work, discipline, routine. But if you try to take a shortcut here, or if you try to cheat some people because you're having some problems right now, so you think it's somehow okay to cheat people. If you engage in those kind of activities, then that is when Saturn leads to your downfall also. Because as I said earlier, Saturn removes any deception. If you have a deception that yet no one is watching you and you can do whatever, then Saturn will remove all of those deceptions, and then that leads to downfall. So a very important thing when dealing with the issues that have been presented by Saturn is to have a clear understanding or discernment, of what are the actions they should actually be taking. And I think a clear rule of thumb when you're discerning is that you should not be harming others, right? And when you do that, then and you keep on going towards your goals with discipline and hard work and routine, then you're able to manifest the positive side of Saturn. Okay, people with this placement in second house, they can also have a very mature phase, because as we discussed, Saturn is everything that is, Saturn represents old people, aging gracefully and antiques. So people with this placement can also have a mature look, like they look much older than they might really be. Okay, Saturn here also can show some impediments in speech, at least in the initial parts of your life. And then later on, you become more confident in your speech and you're able to be more charismatic. But then initially, you may be more introverted in the initial years of your life and not really confident in what it is that you want to express. Okay. Another thing is that with this placement, there may also be some eyesight issues. But that's the important thing with Saturn is that here you need to make sure that you are putting effort towards your financial goals. Okay, and towards taking care of your body in the terms of like your face, your speech. Make sure you're not speaking any ill words, right? Because speech bad here can also give a very bad impact on life, right? So make sure that your speech is good, because with this placement, a person can also have a very authoritative speech, right? And so they have to be careful so it doesn't start impacting their life adversely, right? And you'll see that as you keep on putting these efforts, you'll be able to overcome the challenges that the placement of particular placement of Saturn is presenting to you. So what happens? The third house is the house of our courage. It is the house of our younger siblings, our relatives, neighbors, right? It is also the house of short distance travel, creativity. So as you can understand, wherever Saturn is placed, that's where things will come gradually to you. And in the initial parts of your life, you're going to have trouble there. So Saturn's placement here can bring some issues with your siblings. It may bring issues with your neighbors or your friends. So basically, there is an issue with teamwork, and the person generally becomes lonely in the initial part of their life because they're not able to. The lesson here is that they're not able to work together as a team, and as they mature in life, they understand the skills that are needed to collaborate. Okay, third house is also an upacha house in Vedic astrology. What does that mean? That means that this house gets better with age. So as you increase, you get more maturity. That's how you're able to learn how to manage the themes of this house better. Okay, third house is also the house of our courage. And so you'll see that initial years of the life, this person may lack courage when it comes to speaking, showing your creativity, speaking your heart, or pursuing their passions. They may feel they're not good enough, or their people around them may make fun of them, but as they grow with age, they get more confidence, they get more courage, because of which they're able to present themselves in front of the people with confidence. They start to manage their social life, their friends, their neighbors, or whether it's their team members, or when they start working. And that's how they're able to pay off the karma of Saturn. But the important thing to understand, wherever Saturn is not going to be any miracles and overnight success. It is day in day out. You work on it. Some days you'll feel you're making success. Some days you'll feel as if you're just going backwards. But like that perseverance, that is the main skill when it comes to dealing with Saturn placement. Okay, another thing that may happen with this particular placement, because third house is also the house of, say, the skills with your hands, or the social media, networking. And so these people may also have to face some social media trolling, or those kind of instances, and with time they learn how to manage and also to get more confident and not to be bothered by these things. which helps a lot in this scenario. And another thing is that what I have seen is that people with this placement, they may also have to deal with how do they manage, the expression of courage. Like for instance, initial part of their life, if they are irritated with their team members, they may fight with them. But like as they mature, they understand that actually the real courage is not to fight, but to diplomatically handle things. Third house is also the house of gaining a lot of information. So they may also feel as if, they don't rely on their own decision making. So they want to gather information from all the different sources, and now they are not able to make a decision because, of course, if you rely on so many aspects, then something will be good, something will be bad. So the important thing for people here is to then start listening to their intuition, and more importantly to get the courage to follow their intuition. Because what I've seen is that it's not that they're not able to listen to their intuition, it's more that they don't have the courage to follow it. They don't think that they will be able to deal with any issues if they follow their intuition, so that's why they want to listen to other people you know so that becomes very important with this placement. Okay, so now let's see what happens when you have Saturn in the fourth house of your birth chart. So, fourth house is one of the emotional pillars of the native, and it shows emotional nurturing received from the mother. It is also the house of home, owning houses, right? And it shows what emotional stability we hold in life. Now, when you have Saturn here, then the mother may have been very disciplinarian or authoritative, or she focused a lot on routines. And so, growing up, you may not really like it, but actually, this theme is something that will give you the emotional strength that you need in order to deal with the life. So, people with this placement later on in life, they develop a very good emotional stability, emotional balance within themselves, because of which they are able to handle the ups and downs of life with ease. And then you'll see these people being very structured. Their house will be organized, and if they are not, then the remedy for them is to get their house structured. The more structure and organization they're going to bring in their house, the more it will be helpful for them. Okay. And this house also deals with owning land and property. So there may be some challenges if you try to own land and property. One of the good remedies for people with this placement is to own property maybe in your spouse's name, because in the initial part of your life, especially around till the age of 35 to 40, it may be tough for the person to own their own property because of the placement of Saturn here. But that's the thing with Saturn. You don't have to give up. It's just that it requires you to put regular, consistent effort towards it. There will be challenges, but that's the thing. You have to learn how to navigate those challenges so that you can start getting the benefit of that house. Okay. And if you keep on putting the effort, then later on, these people can actually accumulate huge amounts of lands and property. Okay, and also I think that is partially also because of the emotional stability that they're able to nurture within themselves. Because like if you're running a business, or if you even if you're in a job, but like if you are just volatile and anything happens and you're just emotionally reactive, then in those situations you may not be able to handle every up and down to the best of your advantage, right? But because of their initial upbringing, these people are able to have that emotional strength, and so later on they can be very diplomatic while dealing with things. You will not be able to disturb this person's peace very easily because they have dealt with a lot of stuff initially in life. And so although this can be a tough placement to deal with in the initial part of your life, but if you're able to understand the gift of this placement, then you can actually start working and get the benefit from this placement. So, fifth house is the house of creativity, is the house of our passions, romance, children, right? Everything that lights you up, okay? And brings this passion and enthusiasm and zeal for you, okay? And now, when Saturn is placed here, it brings that dullness into life, okay? Because if you see the natural ruler for fifth house is the sign of Leo, which is governed by Sun, and Sun and Saturn are arch enemies, right? So basically, in this house, when Saturn is placed in the initial years of your life, you will feel as if your creativity is blocked. You're not really able to tap into creativity or come up with these creative ideas. Okay, there may also be challenges with having kids, or you may have kids later on in life. So that is one of the remedies for this house. If you want to have kids, have them later on in life in order to avoid any issues, right? And for creative insights, as you grow with age, you will start to understand yourself better, right? Because what happens with this placement is, in the initial part of your life, you're actually somehow, no one shows confidence in you, or people make fun of you, because of which you lose confidence in yourself. Because a Leo person, like if you think of a Leo, the Leo person is the charm of the party, and talking to everyone, right? But when Saturn is placed here, that charm goes away, because you don't feel confident when you're in a social setup. You're not sure of what's going to come out. You're not sure if what you're making is good or not, right? So that sort of a thing happens here. Also, with your romantic interests, this may, in the initial part of your life, either attract very Saturnian people for you, people who are very austere, and or maybe like a disciplinarian, or there may be some betrayals, because Saturn is something that removes any illusion. So if you try to be with someone who actually doesn't match with you, or who doesn't actually have good interest for you, then in that case Saturn will show you the truth. So initial part of your life, I've seen the people, they may have to face some betrayals with this placement, but if you're aware, then you're able to learn the lesson, and you're able to work, like, what is it that I actually want in my romantic interest, instead of just running after flings, or running after people who just look good on paper. Instead of that, you're able to really understand yourself, get confidence in yourself, have a good self-worth, and then from there, when you start when you approach dating, creativity, starting your business projects, that's when you're able to make progress there in a productive manner. Okay. And for children also, there can also be a tendency for you to be very authoritative or disciplinarian with your children, or the children, basically there can be some issues with your relationship with children. So the thing here is to have a balanced approach, understand your own tendency. Okay, that maybe I have a tendency to be more disciplinarian, right? And if some challenges happen, you understand there is some karma that I'm paying off here. And when you remind yourself this, then you can actually find a way to be more diplomatic while dealing with your kids. Okay. And the thing with Saturn is, again, it's not that you're wrong. It's not that you give up completely, because wherever Saturn is placed, you will not even be able to give up. The lessons will keep coming up. So the only way to deal with Saturn's placement is to keep putting in the effort and persevere. So, sixth house is the house of our enemies, hidden diseases, legal cases. It is also the house of our pets, of the service that we do in the world, and also the subordinates that we employ. Okay, so now when Saturn is placed here in the sixth house, this is actually a good placement. Of course, initial years of your life, it is going to give you some challenges, but later on, this placement actually enables the person to overcome their diseases and enemies. In the initial part of your life, there can be some hidden enemies, or you may face challenges with employing subordinates or workers, right? And there may be some diseases or legal cases. So now the native with this individual, with this placement, has to be very careful about having a good routine, because sixth house is also the house of routine, our everyday routine that we follow. So the remedy in this scenario is that the person should have a very organized routine. They need to take care of their health, both mental and physical, which is of course very connected also. But they have to take a lot of care of themselves in this scenario. And a good thing with this placement is to steer away of legal cases. So if you are one of those individuals who like to sue everyone, there are some people who like to sue everyone at the drop of a hat. That is not very favorable in this situation. Try and steer away from any frivolous legal cases. Indulge in them or engage in them only if it is like really important, okay? And you should be truthful. If with this placement you have actually done something wrong, then since the Saturn is also the lord of justice, then in this situation actually may not land good for you. Okay, so keep your karma good. But yeah, if someone tries to do wrong to you, then Saturn will actually help you. Then, in that scenario, if you go ahead and you fight the legal case, it may be long because Saturn's result will take some time. Okay, it may be long, it may be cumbersome, you may have anxieties, but at the end, you will come victorious, and your enemies will be defeated. Okay, same thing with any chronic illnesses. So the good part, as I say here, is to have a good routine, take care of your diet, of your exercise, of your sleep routine. Okay, that becomes really important here. And in that case, if you do have some chronic illnesses, some pains, some hidden diseases, then you'll be able to master them and defeat them. So the important thing here is that because of displacement, you do have the help of Saturn if you put in the effort, and then you'll be able to defeat any deaths, legal challenges, diseases, enemies. Another thing that may happen with this scenario is the enemy may be very strong, authoritative, or the enemy may be quite older to you. Okay, so again, as I say, with this position, do not try to play over smart with others. If you are wrong, better to admit your mistake instead of engaging in legal battles. Before some other placement, it may work out well, but with this placement, it may actually harm you more. So with this placement, it is better to be diplomatic. If you have actually done some harm, better to accept a mistake. But yeah, if someone tries to do wrong to you, then you will be helped with the situation. Same thing with the issues with subordinates. So I think having a more empathetic, compassionate approach, a diplomatic way, even if you have issues in dealing with your subordinate, that is going to help you a lot in dealing with any issues that you have. And eventually you'll see you'll be able to retain any helpers and subordinates that you actually have challenges with. And that happens because you are able to change your approach to the situation, right? So again, as I say, wherever Saturn is placed, you are going to have challenges, right? So there is no need to be delusional about, oh, everything is happening, everyone is good. No, you have challenges there. But the important thing is to be able to have a diplomatic approach. And that's what happens when we're able to understand our position of Saturn, understand the role it is playing. We don't have to be delusional anymore. Okay, we don't have to be like, oh yeah, everyone is good. No, you have challenges here. There is some karma that needs to be paid in this situation, and this is how you repay it. Seventh house is the house of our partnerships, it's the house of marriage, our spouse. And when Saturn is placed here, a couple of things can happen. First, a Saturn can lead to some delays in marriage, okay? And actually, in this scenario, it is actually good for the person to get married later in life, because what I have seen with this person is if you get married before the age of 35, you generally are not able to get a good life partner, or you attract a lot of betrayals. because you have not understood your own self. And In this scenario, yeah, there can be some betrayals, at least in the initial part of your life. So it's better to be more mature, understand relationships, and take some time, because you have some karma when it comes to relationships. So before the age of 35, the relationships or the long term partners that you will have, they will be bringing a lot of challenges and lessons for you to master. But as you progress in around 35 to 40, that's when you are able to mature. You choose wisely. And I would say it's not just the other person, right? You yourself have also changed. There's some lessons that you have missed out in the past life and that you have to master in this life. And then the initial relationships, they tend to be more karmic, and you learn. But the important thing about understanding this placement is that then you don't get disheartened in relationships, right? Like you understand that there is some karma that I am paying off here, and the right thing to do is to learn the lessons, forgive the person, learn the lessons, and then move on, and choose better and be better, right? And another thing, but it can happen is that once you do find the right partner, then it can have a very long term relationship, because Saturn, it takes time, but because it builds so slowly, that's why the foundation is also very stable. So you may take, like, one of those people who get married after a very long relationship. So it's like a slow burn. So you get to know each other slowly. Fast paced relationships and rushing into marriage, that will not work with this placement of Saturn. That will actually lead to deception and heartbreak later on. Okay, so getting to know the person slowly, and working on the relationship, and then gradually you make it to marriage. That's when the relationship can be very long lasting also. Okay, another thing that can happen is either you will be very Saturnian to your partner, or the partner that you attract can be very Saturnian towards you. Like very authoritative or disciplinarian, liking routines, a very austere approach to life. Okay, and there may also be some age difference. You may attract someone who's far more mature than you, who is older in age than you, right? And actually, that may work in your favor. You may actually need someone who's more mature in order to handle you and have a long term relationship. So that may not be very bad, okay? And that's the magic of understanding your birth chart, because then you're able to choose better in your life, right? Another thing is the partnerships that you engage with for your business. uh, Same thing, in the initial part you may have some deceptions, and gradually you will learn to read the paperwork properly, how to make sure that there is an equal give and take. Because if you see, Saturn is the seventh house, is the natural house of Libra, which represents an equal give and take, right? And so that is what will be very important for you, so to ensure that in your partnerships, both romantic and personal and professional, that there should be an equal give and take. If the other person is only giving and you're receiving, or vice versa, then you will always see those kind of partnerships topple. So even in business, make sure that you're reading the contract properly, make sure you're understanding the terms of contract properly, in order to make sure that things are beneficial for you. And of course, do not try to defraud others. Wherever Saturn is placed in your birth chart, be very careful of engaging in any sort of fraud or imbalances in those themes, right? Because it's going to backfire. So that becomes very, very important. And then if you're able to get a good partner, like in business partnerships, then that will also be very long term and can lead to accumulation of a lot of wealth for you. But the main trick in this placement is the initial deception and the lessons that you have to learn in order to stand up for yourself, but in order to be fair and just to the other party as well. Okay, so let's see what happens when Saturn is placed in the eighth house of our birth chart. So eighth house is the house of the other partner's resources. It is also the house of, inheritances, tax, basically other people resources, right? It is also a house of spiritual transformation and in letting go. It shows how easily are you able to let go of what doesn't serve you anymore. Okay, and so when Saturn is placed here, what happens is, first of all, it may not be very easy for the person to have a partner who is giving them a lot of resources. So with this placement, eventually your partner may be able to accumulate a lot of wealth, because they work at it every day. Or it may happen that you are the main supporter for the relationship, main financial provider for the relationship. Okay, so but there will be some sort of restrictions when it comes to getting shared resources. Similarly, in getting inheritances, right? Either you'll not really have, your parents don't really have any inheritances to give to you, or there may be a lot of fights or delays, restrictions, uh, government regulations on you getting your inheritances. So those kind of issues happen. A good remedy for people with this placement is to be more focused on earning your own resources. Okay, be more reliant on your own resources. And if say you have like an inheritance or a partner, and you want them to work on their resources as well, then in that scenario you'll have to be more patient. That will take time, and that may take diplomacy and overcoming a lot of hurdles before you're actually able to see a fruit in that aspect of your life. Okay, but in this scenario, you will not see any magic overnight success, or like those stories of a girl finding a billionaire and being rich overnight. Those kind of things are not very likely with this position. So, if you have this position, it's better to have your own resources, your own finances, start working on. Your money, right? And that will be more helpful for you. Another thing is that these people may not be able to let go very easily. So if you have some emotions, if you have some bad habits, if there is some change that is needed in your life, it may not be very easy for the natives with this placement. Okay, they take their time to let go. They'll ponder over it. They may take years, thinking about a particular situation from every angle. Why this happened? If but it takes a lot for them to let go. And I think again, that's why I feel Saturn is so important and so connected to spirituality, right? So with this placement, if you bring some amount of spirituality or spiritual wisdom in your life, then it becomes easier for you to let go. You understand the bigger picture, and then you can let go of any resentment, any pain that you have towards the other person, any anxieties that you have with related to any change that's coming in your life. And that's when you will see that you start to have a more emotionally stable feel for yourself. Because in this scenario, if you do not bring spiritual wisdom, then you'll see that you're always full of anxiety, resentment, towards the other person, anger towards the other person, grudges. But this can be a really good position that acts as a catalyst for your spiritual transformation. You use this to let go. And the thing is that when we are able to work on our issues, that's when we are also able to teach others, right? So when you are able to do your spiritual transformation, able to let go of the things and the emotions and the anxieties that don't suffer you, that's when you are able to help others as well, right? Saturn is also connected to occult and astrology. So Saturn in the eighth house can also mean that you have this interest in astrology, occult sciences, hidden sciences, conspiracy theories, and especially if you see after later on in life, after around 35 to 40 years. So initially you may not have that much interest, but you'll see that as you grow in age, you start to develop an interest in these. hidden things. So ninth house is the house of our gurus, mentors, uh, our spiritual teachers. What is our spiritual belief, ideologies? It's also the house of your long-term education, higher education, long-distance travel, right? Now, when Saturn is placed here, you will see that they have some karma when it comes to their teachers. So they may not be able to get good teachers, or they may not have very conducive relationships with their teachers early on in life. Ninth house is also the house of father. So you may get a father figure who is very authoritarian, very Saturnian, right? So very disciplinarian, or there are some issues in your relationship with your father. Only after the age of 35 to 40, you will see that gradually there is a change happening in your relationship with your father or your spiritual teachers, and you also respect them more and they are able to understand you more. Okay. And a person with this approach has some karma with the spiritual ideologies they have, right? So either they become very, very strict with their ideology, following only a certain routine, following lots of restrictions, having a very strict approach to God, like when they see God as someone who is there to punish them. But as they grow in life, the remedy here is to ease on it. They start to see, they start to have a more liberal approach when it comes to God, and they start to have a more um, friendly relationship with God instead of just seeing God as someone to punish them, right? So the flexibility that they get, if they don't believe in, if you don't believe in God, then about your spiritual ideology. So the more flexible you're going to be in understanding an ideology different from your own, that will be very, very beneficial for you. Saturn in ninth house can also lead to issues in higher education. Your education may not be able to complete very easily. So the important thing is to not give up and keep going, because these people are also the ones who are able to become complete their PhDs, right? Anything that requires a lot of research and a lot of dedication every day, those kind of things are very good for people with ninth house Saturn. Also, with the foreign settlement, if you have or long distance foreign travel, that may have some issues early on in life, right? You may face challenges there, but as you'll grow in age, you will see that you are able, even if there are challenges, you're able to like take it in your stride and keep moving towards your goal. Okay. And another thing is that ninth house is the house of fortune as well. So you will see early on, you'll feel as if it's not like there is some overnight miracles that happen for you, right? Like some lottery winning, or some sort of lucky findings happening in life. So that does not happen with Saturn in ninth. That sort of a luck is blocked with Saturn in ninth. You'll have to work for what you get in this life, right? So there's no point of looking at other people and wishing that this will magically happen for you. That is not something that really happens with Saturn in ninth house. You will have to work at it, change your ideology, be more flexible, be more diplomatic, and that's when you'll be able to manifest that love. And if you do go at it, then you'll see that later on in your life, you're more lucky. Why? Because now you are able to reap the rewards of your efforts. The 10th house is the house of our career, our reputation, the authority figures that we have, right? And the name and fame that we get in the world. So now when Saturn is placed here, in the initial part of your life, you will see that you will have a lot of issues with authority figures. There can be a lot of power clashes, right? And in the work that you have to do, you will have to put in a lot of effort with this placement. Okay, so this placement will require you to do a lot of dedication towards your work, put in the hard work. This is not really a placement of overnight successes, right? That you make two videos and you go viral and now you're a billionaire. That's not this sort of a position. It's when you show up to do your work every day, you put in effort, and then also the growth is going to be slow. And but when you keep on putting in the work, then you will see that later on in life you're able to accumulate a big empire and you have a lot of authority when you're dealing with people. But the important thing here is not to give up, not to hope for any miracles when it comes to your career and finances, right? Another thing that happens here is that since it's the house of your reputation and fame, there may be some issues where you start to attract some negative, like there may be some challenges that you have with your reputation and fame, or someone trying to malign your name, put some allegations, right? So that sort of karma may play out with this placement. But eventually, if you have done the right thing, the truth will come out, because Saturn is the lord of truth, right? And so, of course, do, as I say, wherever Saturn is placed, do not try to defraud. So you should also not try to malign someone else's name. Otherwise, that will lead to a lot of karma for you. So, spreading anything wrong about someone or any gossip, steer clear from those sort of tendencies, especially when you have this placement. Otherwise, also, but especially when you have this placement. Okay. But if someone does try to do to you, then you may have to face those sort of things initially in your life. But eventually, when you just show up to do the work, put in the effort, then people will start to see your true nature, the value of your work. Your authority figures will also start to see the value for your work. But initially, you may have to learn to be more diplomatic. You may have to learn to respect authority. That may not come very easily for you. That may feel very tough for you because you have some karma there. So, as a remedy, the people with this placement, they should work on understanding the importance of authority. And another thing is, what happens is when we are able to respect the ones who are in authority, that's when you will see that the people who are junior to you, they respect your authority, and so that sort of a situation happens. This is also a very good placement for people who want to have their own business, because it's so tough for them to listen to any authority figures, that they have to make their own business. That will not come easy to you, but with this placement you can have a lot of reputation, huge wealth, provided you're putting in effort every day, showing up. Whenever there are challenges, you don't give up. It will require you to persevere a lot. So 11th house is the house of the fulfillment of our desires. It is the house of our elder siblings. It is the house of our network. It shows our social network. And it is also the house of large organizations. So, people who have placement of Saturn in this, they may have some karma with their elder siblings. You feel as if your elder sibling is very authoritarian, very disciplinarian, and that may feel, very tough to deal with in the initial parts of your life. But you see it improve as you both age, right? Also, the desires, the fulfillment of desires, because 11th house is a natural house of fulfillment of desires. So any desires you have, they will get fulfilled, but that will take time. So you will feel as if anyone else is doing these manifestation techniques and it's happening for them like in a month, but you're putting in effort and doing these manifestation techniques, but it's taking like years for you. So that is a challenge that may happen with this placement. But now when you understand that, okay, it's not that I'm doing something wrong, it's just some karma that I have around fulfillment of desire. So now you keep on putting in effort towards it, and now okay, it will come true. It's just that I have to put in more effort towards it, right? With these people, it may be very tough for them to first find a job with a with a large organization like MNCs or stuff, or it may be tough for them to retain a job there. You know, especially in the initial part of their life, they may find it to be too restrictive, or they may have to work a lot, or they may face a lot of gossip there, or work politics, because 11th house is also the house of social network. So they may have to deal with a lot of work politics, a lot of gossip from their peers, and it may hamper the person's mind initially. But the remedy here is to understand that this is some karma that we are paying off, right? And to just put your head down and keep on working towards the fulfillment of your desires, right? And you'll see that later on in life these people will automatically start to see the good in you, and you will see that everyone around you becomes more conducive to your efforts and to networking with you. Another thing is, people with this placement, they may also attract, as a part of a network, more mature people or more elder people, and that is something that they may like also, because people their age do not really understand their ideology, and so they feel as if they vibe more with elder people or mature people, right? And you'll see that this actually is going to be helpful for you. When you are able to vibe more, and this is something that can actually lead to fulfillment of your desire. So you're able to deal with people who are more connected in some way, and they see you as someone who's putting in effort, and then that helps you in some way in fulfillment of your desires. But Saturn in 11th house is actually one of the most luckiest places to get a lot of income and a lot of wealth. But yeah, that will not come easily to you. It will take time, and you have to keep on putting effort towards these desires of yours, and you will be able to amass a lot amount of wealth. Okay, so now let's see what happens when you have Saturn in the 12th house. So now 12th house is the house of isolation, hidden enemies, losses, expenses, of mental institutions, of foreign settlement, foreign places, right? And Saturn, if you see, Saturn is the natural ruler of 12th house. So Saturn feels very comfortable in the 12th house, because all those things are also something that is depicted by Saturn, isolation and spirituality, subconscious mind. These are all things connected to Saturn, so Saturn feels very comfortable in 12th house. So when you have Saturn here, I feel one of the most important remedy is to have a spiritual approach, okay? Because you can have a lot of subconscious karma that you are dealing with, okay? There can be a lot of issues with relationships, because how do you get subconscious trauma? It is because of the things that you have experienced in your life, right? And which create an impression on you, right? And so you may have to deal with difficulties in relationships or betrayals, and that is what creates this subconscious blockages for you. And you'll see, as you grow older, you will get opportunities to start looking at these subconscious blockages, and then let go of them so that you can have a better life, right? But initial part of your life, you will feel as if uh, you're stuck in these patterns and you don't know how to come out of it, right? You'll feel as if, I'm a good person, I'm doing everything good, but why am I still stuck in these patterns? And shadow work and inner work may be a very good remedy for people with this placement, because it brings you and helps you shed light on your subconscious patterns, okay? Another thing that I feel with this is, Saturn can also help with the foreign settlement, especially if it's exalted, if it's in a good position, or if you're going through the dasha of Saturn or a major transit of Saturn. Then this can also help in long-term foreign settlement, but especially towards the later part of your life, after 35 to 40, it will be easier for you to settle far from where you were born. Okay, 12th house is also the house of sleep, anything connected to our bed. So you may have issues like insomnia, or having, like, nightmares. And that's basically just your subconscious trying to process itself, right? So a very good remedy for people with displacement is to have a lot of meditation. Even if you fall asleep in the meditation, that's okay. That's your subconscious clearing up the negative energy, any energy blockages. Okay, and so that will be very helpful for you. This placement may bring a lot of hidden enemies as well. You'll feel as if you trusted someone, but they were actually plotting behind your back, right? So you have to be very cautious when you are trusting people or telling someone your secrets, right? So be cautious with these situations in order to avoid deception, right? Because this is a placement that does attract hidden enemies. Of course, let go of the resentment, because we understand this is some karma that we are paying off. But in order to protect yourself, be very careful of people that you trust. And, have a very close circle, or journal instead of telling people about your subconscious or your deep secrets, right? So, guys, this was my understanding of Saturn through different houses and the nature of the planet. Do comment in the comment section about the part that resonates with you and the placements that you have and the experience that you have. Okay, and see you in my next video. Bye.